Alright, welcome back. Today we are going to do the animation switching. I actually made this like 4 times, but every time it took like half an hour and everything, and I don't want that happening, so let's try and make this fast as possible. So, first things first, we're going to do is get a third-person world, dude, get a right-click, new code, C# component, I call it shooter animation, and I'm here. If I go into edit, I have these 3 parameters that are in public. If we go in here, what I did was I copied the animation state that we made before, and we're just gonna copy and paste all this with a few changes. So first change would be that instead of just doing a string num of these, we're going to do a string array of normal, equipped, and aimed, and that's going to be our animation stat. So if we go inside our shooter and its animation, we have 3 different types of animation. We got the non-equipped, the equipped, aiming, and non-aiming, and they all have about 4 animations. So if we go here after you make the file, just change these into 4, we'll have 4. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add them exactly in the same order. So we're gonna add walk, run, idle being 0, walk being first, run being second, and reverse walk being third. That's my order. Now I'm gonna do the same for the other 2. Alright, since you added all 4 of them exactly in the same order, we got idle, walk, run, reverse walk on all 4. We also have a crouch, but we're not going to use that now. Probably something later. I don't remember what I was thinking, but we'll find out. Alright, so where I put this code itself was inside the character. We have our node reference, so we press edit and it gives you the drop down of the object mesh skinned. We give him the code, and then we just press Ctrl S to save, and it applies it, and if we press edit, it's still there. Alright, so we go back here, just press apply, it's still there, everything's good. We just press space, and then we go back into our code. Alright, so right here we have everything connected. We got our main character. The difference we did was instead of state anim state, we also added another enum. We called it shooter state, and then it has the normal, equip, main, and count, and then we made a state variable called a shooter state and just kept it as normal. So now we're going to go line by line and just showing you the difference between the pseudo HSM that we're going to make. So it's going to be like a state machine hierarchy, and the difference between a regular state machine and the one we're going to make. It's a little lazier version of an actual concurrent state machine, but yeah, it's not going to be that bad. So first things first, we're just going to copy these 2 lines. Control C, Control V. Now for the num layers, we're actually going to have 12 layers because we're going to have 4 options of 3 states. So that's 4 times 3, which is 12, which we're just going to add an int shooter state dot count. So now we have 2 of these, and we're just going to multiply that. So we have 4 times 3, which is 12. Perfect. And then the next thing we're going to do is actually write these lines in a for loop. Reason why we're going to do a for loop is because it will make life simpler. So just write for, press tab twice, it will give us this. The length we're going to do is actually going to be 4 times. We're going to actually do this 4 times. Now, just bear with me why I'm going to do this. So the first thing we're going to do is get an int, and we're going to reuse the int. Think of this as refactoring the code, but at the same time, I'm not doing too much. So we'll do a main character dot add animation, the same thing, and we're going to add our normal array. So since it's an array, we're going to do normal, and then we're going to add our little array brackets, press I, so 0, 1, 2, 3 will be added, and then that's all we need. Okay, so that's all we need, and that's going to be added. Then we're going to add that into our animation. Now for animation, you notice it needs a certain layer and the int itself. So what we're going to do is main character dot add animation, and the garbage truck is here today. And then we're going to do the layer, which is going to be layer 0, and then the path is going to be the temp. Okay. Oops, not add animation, set animation. Alright, so now we set the animation number 0 as the animation that we have here. Now we're just going to take all the way till temp, just copy it 3 times, and we're just going to be a little bit quick on our math. So what we're going to do is, for the second part, we're going to take equip, and the third one we're going to do aimed. Now we're just going to do a little bit of math, which is +4 and +8. Now why are we doing this? So if we go back in order of the lines that we have, so if we go here, we have 12 layers, and we define 12 layers in our animation number of layers, because now we have 12 layers. So what we're going to do is we're going to animate these onto their layer setting. So 0 to 3 would be these, then 4 to 7 would be these, and then 8 to 11 would be these. So now we're giving it a certain amount of number. So 0 temp of normal 0, which is going to be idle 0, and then fourth table, we're going to have equipped 0, which is idle equip, and then aimed on the 8th level, we're going to have aimed 0, which is idle aimed, and we're going to have the temp being that option. So we're just recycling the numbers, and we're saving some space, and that just saves us like writing this 12 times and everything. Anyways, let's go back here. For set frame. Now for set frame, this one's a little fun to talk about, but let's just make it quick. When we're in a specific option, let's say we're in normal mode, does it make sense to be using these other 8 animations? No, because we're not going to be in that state. The moment we're in that state, we're going to be using those, but if we're not in that state, we can just use the 4 that we have. So what we can do is another for loop, just tap twice, and then for the length we're going to use the same count. We're just going to use 4. Okay, because we're going to repeat the 4 frames that we have, and we're going to do the main character dot set frame, and then it's asking for which layer. So the layer is going to be set by our shooter state, right? So our layer is going to be the shooter state layer. All right, and then we're gonna times it by, actually let's put this in brackets so it doesn't look too jumbled up. So we're gonna do the shooter state times the amount of states we're skipping through. So now this makes no sense because we don't have the int in front of our shooter state. Okay, so this is going to be shooter state times the count that we have. So we're mixing in by 4, and then the state tells us which 4 sets we're gonna be in, and then we're just gonna plus I this. So what does this mean? Let's say we're in aimed. Aimed is 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 8. Do this plus 4 times, right? So 8 plus 0, 8 plus 1, 8 plus 2, 8 plus 3. So that's 8 to 11, and that makes it that. So we're just using the 4 animations that we have on aimed. Next, we just copy paste that, and we're done with that. Last 2 things we're going to do is just copy the weight line, perfection, and then the anim changer. Before I write this down, let's actually copy and paste the whole anim changer and the reset weight functions. Just gonna paste it right here, and we're gonna do a few things different. So the first thing is I decided to remove the procedural, and we're gonna do it all on normal idle. So let's just change the procedural to normal idle. Remember, it's a lot of copy pasting, but it makes a little bit of sense. The next thing we're gonna do is actually add the shooter state difference. So we're gonna just do int shooter state. Okay, and we're gonna actually add that into our layer lerping. So our layer lerping is from layer 0 to layer 1. In the layer 0 and the layer 1, we're just gonna add a plus shooter state, and we're gonna do that for all all the states that we are currently in. Now, why are we doing this? The shooter state is actually going to be the number change between our 0 to 12, and that's going to use the exact same code over here. But before we even do that, let's make one more function, and we call this the shooter changer. All right, and this function is going to be the function we're actually going to call in our main update function and not the anim changer. Now, why are we doing this? Let's just go back in here. We write a switch, press tab twice, and then in the switch we're actually going to write the shooter state. So just type in shooter state, click enter, press down, and it will come all for you. We remove the count. Okay, and now we have these three states, and as you guessed it, if you have guessed it, because most of you guys are smarter than me, we're going to actually use the anim changer shooter state and just put it here. Now for here, what we're going to do is actually write the code, which is going to be this little line here, which we wrote here. God, I love copy pasting. So just copy this whole thing, paste it right here, and then we're going to change this into this. Now, what does this mean? It means we're going to take the first 4 sets, because this is 4 sets. We're going to take the first 4 sets of the num layers that we have, and we're going to add it to our state machine that we had for our animation. Now, if we just copy and paste this 2-3 times here, and then we change our equip, we change the state with the state that we're in, this means the second set of 4s, and this means the last or the third set of 4s that we're going to be using in our animation. So instead of just talking all this, let's actually test it out. Let's go to state number equipped, and if we were going in and we started, it's going to be the equipped states, and I hope it is. Alright, so now we're in here and our state dude is right here. Let's just pick it up because we have it, and now we have the animation. Let's check it out. Walking, perfect. Reverse walking, perfect. And if we run, he is doing the run animation, and I definitely need to change the numbers on these. But anyways, so we got these working perfectly fine. If you want, go back to our normal, and then that's about it for concurrency or layering your state machines. Now, the next thing we're gonna do is, for next episode, is we're actually going to code the logic between this, because sure, we can have this, but now what are we gonna do? So it's gonna be the exact same thing as these guys. If you want, you could do it as homework, where if you press a certain button, it will change it, but we have something different because we're gonna equip the item. What we're gonna do is we're actually gonna talk to the, where did you go? If we go inside here, we're gonna talk to the raycaster one, which actually picks up the object, right? And over here, we're gonna write a few lines that tells the other code that we picked it up. And then once it tells this code that we picked it up, then it's gonna switch to our equip. And then when we press buttons, it's gonna switch between equip and aimed, right? Or equipped and normal. So like hold right click, it aims, and then if let's say you press Q or something, it goes back to normal, right? So there's stuff like that. Anyways, enough of me rambling. I hope I didn't take too much time. This was a pretty sped up thing, but it worked. And yeah, that's about it. Next week or next time, whenever I'm free, I'll let you guys know what's up. Alright, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.